Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Georgia. I hope you're well. Welcome to another monthly reading wrap up. We are officially at the end of June and I have read 8 books this month. Last month I was in such a big reading slump. I think I finished 5 books all month and 2 of them were while I was on holiday in literally the last week of May. So this month I feel like I had some catching up to do, I think, and I've now finished 8 books this month. So I've had such a great reading month, so let's just go through all the books that I picked up. My first read in the month of June was Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This is book 2 in the Rose Hill series by this author. And in this one we're following Weston and Skylar. Now Weston we have already met in book 1 in this series. He is one of the single dads in this town. These are a series of single dad romances. So we're following West and his 2 children. He's got 2 young kids, a little girl and a little boy, and then we're following Skylar, who is this really popular country romance singer. I really enjoyed this one. I feel like the series as a whole is one that I'm just gonna absolutely love and devour because I love a single dad romance anyway, or a single parent romance. It's definitely one of my favourite tropes. I really love when we see the sort of like romantic interest bond with the kids as well as the parent, and like seeing them sort of make these relationships, or these relationships starting based on like the love that they find for that person's children. I absolutely love that in a romance book, and this one did not disappoint. I love West as a character. I think he's so funny and so entertaining, and I really like the element of like Skylar's relationship, especially with Weston's younger boy. So her younger boy is sort of selective mute. He only really talks to members of the family. He doesn't really speak outside of that. With the sort of anxiety and stuff that Skylar is struggling with at the moment, he finds a lot of comfort in Skylar, and I just think that that's such a beautiful addition to this story, and I all in all just really enjoyed it. I have settled on a 5-star rating for the series. That's been my rating for both books that I've read in the series so far. Like I say, I do think this is going to stay at a high rated series for me. I love Elsie Silver's writing anyway. I think she writes the most amazing country romances with the best banter and the best like found family element and stuff, and I just absolutely devoured this book. I also just want to like note on the fact that there are actually some songs in this book as well. Now I did a mix of sort of physically reading this and audioing it, so I audioed it on Everand, and they actually like performed and sung the songs, and I just think that was so lovely. So if you've got an Everand subscription, I highly recommend listening to these on there. I love the voice actors as well. I think they were perfect for the characters, and like I say, I really enjoyed that sort of musical element. So first read for the month of June then, we have a 5-star read. The next book that I picked up in the month of June was The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. Now I would just like to start by saying, look at how floppy this book is. It is literally perfect. Like you can open this all the way with no break into the spine, and I just feel all paperbacks should be like this, and I don't understand why they're not. Moving on from my little rant about paperbacks, I again really enjoyed this. This is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This is book 1 in the Friend Zone series by this author, and I loved this. In this one we're following Kristen and Josh. Now, Kristen's best friend Sloane is getting married, and in helping organise and planning the wedding, she meets the best man Josh. Kristen and Josh immediately hit it off. They have the most amazing spark and chemistry, but there is one issue, and that is that Kristen can't have kids and Josh wants a really big family. Now this is obviously a big part of a relationship, and having sort of mutual understandings and positionings on that topic in particular is so important. Like it just puts them both in such an awkward position. Now we follow them as they sort of get to know each other and fall in love, know that as much as they're falling thick and fast that it can't really go anywhere. Now Josh doesn't really know what's going on, but Kristen is very clear that they cannot be together, that they will not be together, and it just makes for the most beautiful but heartbreaking story. This book honestly almost brought me to tears. The ending of this book was genuine heartbreak. If you want to see my true reaction to it, it is part of my TBR takedown. Like this book had me raging, heartbroken, and just like lost for words. I loved it. I think any book that brings that sort of reaction out of you deserves a sort of high rating, and it truly broke my heart, and it's made me so desperate to jump into the next book, because the next book's set 2 years after this one, following the characters that the sort of heartbreak is about. So I absolutely devoured this one. I have settled on a 4.5-star rating. I feel like my review and my rating of this book does keep changing. I feel like I originally rated it a 5-star during the video. I've rated it 4.5 on things like Goodreads and Fable. So I don't know. I feel like it deserves a 5-star because I feel like any book that gets me that like angry and sad, and any book that brings that level of emotion out of me deserves the 5-star rating. But I don't fully know where I stand on it. But no, it's between a 4.5 and a 5. Like it is such a highly rated book for me. I absolutely love it. It's so good and I cannot wait to read the next book in this series. I feel like before I read this book I had a lot of mixed feelings about this series as a whole, and in looking on the reviews from this book I can see where people are coming from, but I loved it. I really loved it and I cannot wait to continue on with this series. I have, if you've not seen my TBR video yet, I have actually put book 2 on my TBR for the month of July because I just need to get this book read. I need to know. I need the problems at the end of this book resolved. So I cannot wait to jump into book 2. The next book I picked up in the month of June was Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young. Now this is a carer or foster guardian romance and I love it. I loved it again. Like I said, this month has been such a good reading month. I have read the sort of like Out series by this author, so I've read Out on a Limb and I've read Out of the Woods, and I loved those books, and I also loved this one and cannot wait to read the next book in this sort of duology, the next series. I think this one was so lovely. I absolutely loved it. So this one follows our main character Chloe. Now it's all from her POV and it starts right at the beginning. It doesn't mess around, like we immediately jump in the deep end with this book. So Chloe gets a phone call from like the child services saying that her mum has unexpectedly had a baby. Now her mum is unable to care for this baby. Would Chloe be interested in sort of being this baby's carer? Now Chloe is only 24. She's not really had any experience with small children or with like caring for anybody but herself. She's fended for herself for a very long time, but immediately jumps at the opportunity to care for her sister so that her sister doesn't go into the system. Now unfortunately Chloe doesn't meet the requirements to care for her sister, so they look at your sort of like financial stability, your accommodation, and she has the perfect accommodation but she doesn't have the financial stability because she does sort of like freelance work, so she doesn't have a stable going income. But there's this new initiative that basically partners families up so that if somebody has the accommodation and somebody else has the money, that together, if they work together and live together, they can make this work for them both. Enter our main male character Warren. Now Warren is hoping to look after his younger brother. His younger brother is 15 and is deaf, and they basically have to work together to be able to care for their younger siblings. Now I think this was such a beautiful setup and such a beautiful book. I really enjoyed that foster element of it. Now in this one, obviously because of all the complications with their arrangement, when they start to develop feelings they're obviously very scared of that blowing up in their faces, so it was so lovely watching them sort of develop these true feelings and leaning on each other, and that progression between them being complete strangers to really being able to rely on each other and to support each other during these really difficult nights. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it. I think this book is so good and I have settled on a 4-star rating for this one. I cannot wait to read the next book in the series. We're following, I want to say it's like their friends, and I just can't wait to see what else this author has in store for me because I just absolutely love the setup for these books. I feel like they're always just so meaningful and so informative, and I just love it. I just love it. So our third book for June, I settled on a 4-star. I next picked up Harvest Season by Bryn Weaver. This is book 2 in the Season of Carnage trilogy by this author. So this follows immediately after Taurus Season. Now Taurus Season is a serial killer romance and we follow Harper. Harper is sort of living this quaint life in this little village, and she is trying to keep control of the tourist problem. She wants to keep her city clean and therefore disposes of the bad tourists in her award-winning gardens. We then have Nolan. Now Nolan is a tourist who comes in looking for Harper to get revenge on something that happened a while back. In typical Bryn Weaver fashion, we have these two serial killers sort of going neck and neck trying to get each other, but then end up actually having to work together for a common goal. Now I love this series so far. Book 2 is following the same characters, the same couple, and like literally continues on immediately after book 1. Book 1 ends with such a cliffhanger, so I was so happy when this released in June and I could immediately jump into it. I loved it so much. I think the continuation of the story was so lovely, and I'm not really used to reading romances that follow the same couple. I feel like usually you end up with interconnected ones where you see glimpses of them, but them actually continuing their romance into book 2 was so much fun, and I cannot wait to see where the story goes in book 3. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so I cannot wait for that to come out. We're going to be waiting a while because like I said, this only came out in June, so we've still got a good wait to go, but I'm really enjoying this series and I think it's such a unique concept and it's just so much fun. Highly recommend this series if you're looking for something fun and very spicy and just a bit unhinged but entertaining. This is where it's at. I did settle again on a 4-star for this one. I don't know why it was only a 4 for me. I feel like I rated book 1 of 5 and I think that was more just the intrigue of like setting up the story and the beginnings of the banter and things, whereas this one is sort of just continuing on with a similar setup but slightly more in depth in terms of like the bad happenings of being a serial killer. I feel like it's so hard to explain it without giving you any spoilers, but I don't want to ruin it for you guys, so I'm going to leave it at that. But so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I then read Broken Fae by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valente. Now this is book 4 in the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac, and I again absolutely loved this book. With this being book 4, I can't really tell you much about it, but the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac is basically a side series to the Zodiac Academy, and in this one we're following our main female character Elise and the 4 kings of the school. So we've got Dante, Leon, Ryder and Gabriel. This one I've already started reading the next book in this series, so I'm getting a bit confused with where this one ended and where that one began. But this series as a whole is just so twisted and exciting and entertaining. So we have 4 elemental powers based on the zodiac signs. Each person also has an order gift. So vampires, werewolf, lion, harpy, dragon, basilisk, Pegasus, there's all sorts. I just think it's such a fun setup. In this series, we're following our main character Elise trying to uncover the sort of like mystery of her brother's death, and she's been pointed in the direction of these 4 kings. I'm going to leave it at that just because I don't want to give you any spoilers, but these books just get more and more twisted and more intertwined, and in this one we're starting to see connections between this series and the main series, the Zodiac Academy. I'm starting to see why we read the Ruthless Boys after book 3 and before book 4. I absolutely love this series. I think it's so much fun. If you enjoy like an academy setting storyline anyway, and if you want that sort of like high school drama mixed in with these really traumatic experiences, then I think you'll love this series and I recommend giving it a go. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to give you guys any spoilers for that one, but it is so good, so much fun. I'm absolutely loving it, and like I say, I'm already halfway through book 5, which is nearly 1,000 pages long, so for me to read books this chunky and not even bat an eyelid at it, they must be good. And I have settled on a 4.5 star rating for this one, which is pretty standard for these books. They've all been between 4 and 5. I'm absolutely loving this series. Now the next 3 books are actually arcs that I read this month that have now been released. So as of the 2nd of July, these 3 books are now out. The first one is The High Life by Anise Starr. Now this is a very fun, high socialite type drama, and I absolutely devoured this. So in this one we're following Armani, who is the heiress of this airline company, and then we also have Asha, who's the heir of this really luxury, expensive, high hotel chain. Their fathers are trying to merge their 2 companies to sort of better themselves, and in doing that they have decided the best way to do it will be to marry off their children. Now Armani will do anything to make her father happy, but she draws a line at this, so she comes up with this elaborate plan to basically try and get this wedding cancelled. Both of our main characters attended the same uni, and they basically come up with this plan to pretend that they absolutely hate each other. They dated in university and it ended really badly, so they can't possibly get married. So we follow them as they start to get to know each other and get to learn more about each other so that they can pretend they knew each other way back when. It's basically like this marriage of inconvenience, fake dating situation, and I just think it was so entertaining watching them go to these galas and cause all this drama. And there's this social media page called Trust Fund Tea that gives me sort of like that Bridgerton vibes, where like nobody knows who they are, and they basically, if you can get your story on their page, everyone will believe it. They are the tea of the sort of high life. I just thought it was so much fun and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the spice in this book. I enjoyed watching their relationship develop from basically strangers to pretend enemies to these lovers, and like watching them stand up to their dads and fight against something that they don't want was also just really lovely, when they've both sort of let their dads rule their lives up until this point. I think it was really lovely watching them sort of support each other and take control of their lives again. I enjoyed Armani's travel element of this book. I thought that was really fun, and I just think all in all that this was a really entertaining read. I have settled on a 4 star, and I would like to read some more by this author. I've only read 1 book by her previously and I enjoyed that one as well, but I'd definitely like to go back and read some more by her. So 4 star read, really enjoyed this one. We next have One Last Rodeo by Emma Lucy. This is book 3 in the Willow Ridge series by this author, and again came out on the 2nd of July. I love this book. So this one is a second chance single mum romance. Now Sawyer is a professional bull rider and Honey is a sort of like really quiet, calm, single mum, works in a school, very opposite ends of the spectrum, and they were the same back in school as well. So we do have this dual timeline in this one. We've got them 10 years ago when they first knew each other and first sort of dated, and then we've got the current timeline as well. I loved this one. I think the parallels between way back when and now were so interesting, and I really enjoyed them creating these similar moments in current timeline as they had back when they were younger. I loved watching Sawyer get to know Honey's little boy Noah. Noah is obsessed with cowboys, but is usually really shy and doesn't really talk to strangers, but he takes to Sawyer really quickly, and I loved watching their relationship blossom. I think Noah was such a crucial part of this story, and watching them sort of become this small little family was just so sweet. I enjoyed the third act conflict with this. I think it was really fitting for their storyline and their shared trauma, and I just all in all devoured this. I have rated it a 5-star. It might be up there as one of my favourites in the series. It's between this one and book 2, and I'm not sure if this is the last book in the series or not. There is a group of 4 friends, so there's Wyatt in book 1, Duke in book 2, Sawyer in book 3, and then there is also Wolfman. I don't know if he's going to get his own book or not, but I would really like to sort of see a bit more of him, because I don't feel like we get that much of him really. But I really enjoyed this one, and there was also just one part in this book where all the lads sort of come together and like talk, and I just think that was such an important part of the story, because it's sort of saying that like none of the lads really reach out when they need help, and they all sort of suffer on their own when they should be talking to each other, and I just think the message in that part of the story was just so lovely. All in all, absolutely devoured this one, and I have settled on a 5-star rating. I loved it so much. I love the series as a whole, and I am so heartbroken to be potentially done with these books and these characters, because I have just created such an emotional attachment to them. I'm really looking forward to seeing what else Emma Lucy has in store, because I love her books so much. And then the final book that I picked up in the month of July is Unexpected Goal by Clara St. James. This is book 3 in the Breakaway series by this author. These are professional ice hockey player romances, and I love this. This one follows our main male character Tyler. Now, we have met Tyler in book 1 and book 2, and in those books he is a horrible person. He makes some really bad moves and bad mistakes. When I found out that we were getting a book about Tyler, I was slightly scared to see how they were going to make this work, because I couldn't stand him. I don't know how we can possibly create a character arc that good to redeem him, because he's just a twat. But like at the end of book 2 he does have a really good moment and like starts to make some progress on his sort of character anyway. But in this one we really see him grow. So this is a single dad romance, but not only is it single dad, it's surprise you're a single dad. So he has a one-night stand right at the beginning of this book, and then all these months later there's a knock at the door, and there's basically just this 8-week-old baby on his doorstep with a birth certificate and a letter from the mum just saying, I can't do this, she's yours. So there's a baby, a diaper bag, and nothing else. Now Tyler, he is not ready to be a dad. He has none of the equipment, nothing like that. He doesn't even know how to hold a baby, and all of a sudden he's stuck there with this newborn freaking out. We have some characters that we've met previously come to help Tyler, and in doing that they ring for an emergency nanny. Now our emergency nanny is the main female character in this book, Nora, and I love them together. I loved this book so much, watching them sort of bond and her help Tyler become this perfect dad for the little girl Harper. It was just so lovely to see. Now Harper is a live-in nanny, so you can imagine the sort of feelings that swirl from seeing this guy go from being completely useless with a baby to being this perfect father figure for her and doing everything in his power to create the best life for Harper. And I just devoured it. I really enjoyed seeing Tyler, as awful as it sounds, seeing Tyler at his worst and him trying to become a better person and to move on from his past mistakes and to grow. And watching Nora go from this quite traumatised girl to be really blossoming and working on herself, and in turn working together and sort of becoming much closer, I just thought it was incredible. I did like the third act conflict for this book. I really like when a third act conflict isn't actually to do with the relationship but with something external, and that's the case with this one. We have a bit of a custody battle, which is something I don't actually know anything about, if I'm completely honest. I've never had any experience firsthand, and luckily nobody I really know has either. And it was so interesting and like educational to read from that side of it. It's something that I've never really read before, and it's something I haven't really seen much of either, so I don't know if it's just something that isn't really done much. But I just think it was the perfect sort of setup, and it was just really nice to see them sort of come together to keep Harper in their safe, warm environment. and I loved it. I loved it so much. I have settled on a 4-star for this one as well. I think this series as a whole is really, really interesting, and I really like how the author writes deep and meaningful topics into her romances. We have a lot on different traumas and things in her books, and I just think they are so educational and so informative and handled with so much care. So all in all, absolutely loving this series, and I do think we have one more book in this one as well. So another 4-star read, absolutely loved this one. So there we have it. Those are the 8 books that I picked up in the month of June. I've honestly had such an amazing reading month. If you've read any of the books that I speak about in this video, do let me know what you thought of them in the comments down below, and also just let me know what your favourite read of June was. I always love to hear your guys' opinions. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, my social media, my Amazon, my Goodreads, my business email, and now my Fable are all in the description bar down below. I am new to Fable, please bear with me, I'm still trying to figure out how I actually use it. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope you guys are well, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.